wonderful to have such enthusiastic supporters for our candidates. We are going to ask again that you withhold those applause until the question and answer period are concluded. Remember again that as you applaud during the middle of their speaking, you are shortchanging them. And we're going to now grill you for a little while. Let's see, the first thing we're going to do is opening statements. So, Mr. Klein, again, by order of draw, this determines the order of speaking. And Mr. Klein, you'll have 1 minute to open, followed by 1 minute, Mr. West. Mr. Klein.
Thank you, Alyssa, and thank you to the League of Women Voters for inviting us here tonight. 2 years ago, you sent me to Congress to represent you. When I got to Washington, I saw firsthand how President Bush and leaders of both political parties had poisoned the process with excessive partisanship. So I quickly banded together with a number of other new members, and we decided to fight the entrenched interests up there and try to bring some common sense to Capitol Hill. It wasn't easy, but we helped pass in a bipartisan way a number of important pieces of legislation, standing up for our veterans, enhancing our national security, and making college affordable. Change comes when we work together. One of the bills that I introduced and passed this year is the Homeowners Defense Act, which helps reduce our insurance rates. We obtained the support of every Florida member, Democrats and Republicans, along with others. We got it done because we worked together. But there's much more ahead, and with your vote, I'll keep fighting for common sense solutions to help get our country back on track.
Thank you, Mr. Klein. Mr. West.
I just want to thank the League of Women Voters for allowing me to be here, and thank all of you for coming. I'm Lieutenant Colonel Alan West, and I'm a third generation of 4 generations of military servicemen in my family. And in my 22-year active duty career in the United States Army, the people of America sent me to 13 different countries to include 3 different combat zones. And you gave me one simple mission, and that was to protect us. So in January of next year, you will send me to Washington, D.C. as your congressman, and you will send me into a place that has become so infested with corruption, with irresponsibility, with incompetence, and all you're going to ask me to do is the same thing: protect us. And unlike my opponent, there is no amount of money that will ever cost me to break the oath and the commitment that I have to the American people, which is to support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and to bear true faith and allegiance to the same.
Thank you. The first question will be responded to by Mr. West. You will have 1 minute to respond, and this question refers to the economy, and essentially is the same as we asked before. Now that Congress has passed the bailout or rescue plan to address our immediate economic crisis, what specific action should Congress take to ensure the long-term health of our country?
Well, first of all, I would not have supported that bailout plan. What the government has to understand is when you have government get involved, as they did, going back and looking at them trying to engineer results by creating an institution like Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac and giving mortgage loans to people who could not afford it, that started the cancer which infected our economic and financial institutional systems. What happened last Friday was that Congress took a step toward this country becoming a socialist state by allowing the government to become intertwined into our free market system. There are other things that they could have done that allow the American people to inject the capital and the assets into our economy to make sure that it grows and we have the liquidity. What they did, they showed that they were not leaders and that they panicked. And they put the American people in a position where they had to accept something that was absolutely Washington as usual, pork barrel laden bill. Thank you.
We have a very serious problem in this country. This is the most serious economic crisis we've had since the Great Depression. And whether you believe it or not, I think most of you understand that what happens on Wall Street affects all of us personally. How many of you called your stockbroker and looked at your retirement account over the last week? I did. I think many of you probably should have. And it's a very serious problem. How did we get here? We got here because of 8 years of greed and incompetence, behavior by the administration that unfortunately looked CEOs and others ran amok. We must and we will make sure that all these people who caused this mess, whether in government or the private sector, will pay the price. Then, of course, the administration came to the Congress and said, fix it.
Thank
I
you.
certainly... That's a minute.
Thank you, yes. Mr. West, you have 30 seconds to respond.
I think one of the things is that my opponent cannot objectively look at this situation, because when you think about him taking $790,000 from the financial industry and sitting on the House Finance Committee and then being part of writing up this bailout package, there is no way that you can tell me there is not a conflict of interest and he was considering the plight of the American people. In Congressional District 22, there are 21,000 homes in subprime mortgage foreclosure out of 109,000 in the state of Florida. That is 1/5 in Congressional District 22. How did that happen?
When the Congress was faced with fix it by the president, basically what I started hearing from people is don't let the economy suffer as a result of the greed that went on Wall Street, which I understand and agree with. What's more important than making sure that your retirement account or your bank account is safe and secure? What's more important than businesses having credit to expand or meet payroll? What's more important than all of you having the opportunity to make sure that if you need a loan for a house or a car or finance your kid's education, that money's available? This is a very difficult vote, but I did what I thought was right.
Thank you. Mr. Klein will be the first to respond to this next question. Healthcare costs are exploding and healthcare spending on the elderly is projected to sharply increase as baby boomers age. This is a three-parter. Do you believe the Medicare system is in crisis? What changes will be needed to save the system, and how will we pay for it?
It's an excellent question because about a year and a half ago, President Bush was pushing on privatizing Social Security as a view toward privatizing Medicare after that. If we had our investments in Medicare and Social Security in the stock market right now, look where we would be. Very serious problem. Medicare is a great entitlement for senior citizens. You all paid into it, whether you're young or old, for your whole life. And the view, of course, is to make sure that everyone has dignity and respect when you are older and have the care you need. But it also has to be sustainable economically. One of the things that we've looked at is making sure that we can negotiate for lower prices. Congress overwhelmingly, bipartisan, passed a bill that said the Medicare system should negotiate for lowest possible drug prices. President Bush vetoed it. Everyone, the Medicaid system, the veterans system, our large businesses, all negotiate for the lowest possible prices. These are the kinds of principles that I would support in making sure that Medicare is viable and sustainable for the future.
Thank you. Mr. West, 60 seconds.
One of the things that we have to do right now is talk about us as congressmen and not worry about bringing in President Bush, because he's not going to be around, so that's a deadbeat issue. One of the things we have to look at is with Medicare, we have to make Medicare affordable, and we have to do the things that enable our seniors to have that which they have paid into. One of the things that is really concerning to me is the donut hole issue. Why is it that we pay up to a certain percentage, then our seniors have to pay the next from $4,000 some odd dollars to get to a $6,000 level? One of the things that happened when Congressman Klein was back in 2006 is he met with seniors and he said that he would go up and correct that donut hole issue. And he was supposed to be in charge of a blue ribbon panel, which to this day he has never had a blue ribbon panel on the Medicare issue. Social Security needs to be fixed. It needs to go back into the independent trust fund and not be in a general operating account. And as long as we have it as it is, people such as Congressman Klein will use it to rob that for their earmarked spending.
Thank you. Mr. Klein, you have 30 seconds to respond.
You know, it's very easy to say